This stuff rusts in like and Coke used to take rust off cars. Yeah. I don't know if it still does or not. I suspect.
It wasn't who said, no, fish wouldn't have heard.
Oh, right.
Of course, he had a few expletives.
Right, exactly. Sarah, David, or how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Fine.
Good. But they know they only get half a vote.
It's probably safer.
We'll wait another 30 seconds or so and start off on time. All right, well, welcome to the February meeting of the Commission on Governmental Ethics and Election Practices. The first item on our agenda is number 1, ratification of minutes of the January 29th, 2025 meeting. Would somebody like to make a motion? Please do.
I'll make the motion. I move that we ratify the minutes of the January meeting.
Terrific. Is there a second? Second. All right. Been moved and seconded that we ratify the minutes of the January 29th, 2025 meeting. Is there discussion? Okay. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Commissioner Leclerc,
Yes.
Commissioner Hastings,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahearn,
Yes.
Commissioner Marble. Yes. I'll vote yes as well. On to agenda item 2, a request for a penalty waiver from the Honorable Laura Supica. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, close enough. If you're here for the hearing, if you'd like to step up to the witness statement, that's great.
Thank you. And the name is pronounced different by different people, so I'm not.
Well, I want to pronounce it the way you do.
Supica, like shoe pizza if you want it.
Okay, terrific. Well, welcome. What we usually do with hearings like this is I'll have Mr. Wayne give us some background, and then we'll hear from you, and then we'll discuss the situation and we'll take a vote. So, Mr. Wayne.
Sure. Representative Supica was running for re-election last year, and during the last 13 days before an election, if a candidate makes an expenditure of $1,000 or more, they have to file a 24-hour report. And part of the definition of expenditure is entering into a contract or a promise or an agreement to pay a vendor for goods or services. A lot of candidates are not aware that that is a reportable expenditure. A lot of candidates think of this, when they have to report expenditure when it's paid. And this is sort of an ongoing educational effort on our part to try to, every election year, we try to educate candidates in different ways on this. So Representative Supica had hired a contractor to help her with communications, and the consultant had, our understanding is maybe ordered or contracted for some literature from Print Bangor, and that was on October 25th. And the amount of the order for the contract was, we believe, was $1,101.41. That was for printing and postage. And so once we found out about this in January, because it wasn't reported until January, because it was some weeks after the election, our candidate registrar made the determination that that required a 24-hour report, and it was late, and we notified her of a preliminary penalty of about $1,900, and she's requested a waiver. Representative Supica happens to be on our oversight committee, so I just want to share, so generally a lot of our late filings are due to good faith reasons, like maybe there's a miscommunication or there's an IT problem, and the commission oftentimes will grant a partial waiver, but tends not to grant a full waiver in order to sort of impress on candidates generally that the reports have to be in on time and have to be complete and that kind of thing. So the staff is recommending a reduction to 300, which is sort of the usual penalty range for this kind of thing, but it's in your discretion and you can go lower than that for good reasons.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or higher.
Or higher.
Yeah. And your statement of the educational value of imposing some kind of penalty is exactly right, from my perspective. Representative, would you like to say something?
Yeah, so, through this, not knowing that there was this outstanding balance, I also found other discrepancies. I don't know if that's like that I finally reported, and I did a deep dive into it. And so all I can say is that my last election, issues in my private life bled into other areas. I tried to have people contract to do more of the work for me and had a little bit more of a hands-off approach. And I think I was too hands-off, and I for the first time was actually fundraising, and I contracted with folks to fundraise for me, to design my lit, to try to like take a lot of the burden off of me in the off season so that I could try to focus on finding a job and all these other things that were happening. And so it was the first time I didn't do clean elections, and I'm glad that I wasn't doing clean elections, that I was fundraising at the time in this scenario here, because all the money is accounted for. I just didn't file on time like I should have. And halfway through, so my ex-husband had always been my treasurer. Halfway through, he's no longer my treasurer. And I had a new treasurer. My communication, I did not lean on them and communicate with them as much as I should. So I do take responsibility for these things, and so I don't want to come here with excuses. Like, I want to accept a penalty and
Sure,
be responsible here.
sure.
We
That's-
appreciate that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's a fine, upstanding way to approach it. Thank you. Any questions from commissioners?
Comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes I wish, in a discreet way, that wasn't embarrassing to anybody, we had a collective video to play to people sitting where you are of scads of other candidates saying very similar things about busy lives, about multitasking, about missing one date, about all these kinds of things. And we've had many discussions about, how do we clarify this? It's the date you make the commitment. It's not the date it's paid. And the staff has worked very hard to communicate all of this. And it ends up not being a matter usually of anything intentional. So don't feel too bad. And we do appreciate your attitude and how you're putting this.
Oh, and I also, can I just add that we are talking, one of our agenda items today is to talk about convening a working group to provide more education, because there are many candidates, as the commissioner said, who come sit where you are and say, I didn't realize, I thought it was when I had to pay, not when I contracted. So we're trying to make it as help candidates with education.
I think education, and I also, in my case, I think that I was so focused on other aspects of my life that I did not give my reporting as much attention as I should have. And after doing a forensic dive into my accounts the other night, I was like, I don't want to be up until 10 o'clock at night doing this ever again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Okay, I'll make a motion that we reduce the penalty to $300. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we reduce the penalty to $300. Is there any discussion?
No.
Okay, seeing none, I'll move to a vote. Commissioner Leclerc,
Yes.
Commissioner Hastings,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahearn,
Yes.
Commissioner Marvel, yes, and I'll vote yes as well. And thank you for coming.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it when somebody comes in.
Thank you for your time, and I'm sure I will see you all again one day.
Okay, the next item is agenda item 3, a request for a penalty waiver from the Honorable Rae Eaton. And is nobody here for that? Okay. So, Jonathan?
Yeah, we had a conversation with Representative Eaton. She had a commitment this morning that she couldn't get out of, so she said she should rest on her letter to the commission. She was a candidate last year. She was required to file a regularly scheduled campaign finance report 42 days after the election on December 17th. She was relying on a treasurer, and the report was filed 6 days late on December 23rd. So staff notified the representative that the preliminary penalty for the late report was $1,117. And Representative Eaton has requested a waiver. And in her letter, she explains that she takes responsibility for the oversight. It had to do with her treasurer unexpectedly managing significant work obligations as a new middle school teacher. And the treasurer was overwhelmed and unable to submit it on time or follow up on the issue. And Representative Eaton explains that she was unaware of the delay until last week, which would have been the second week of January. So she's requesting waiver, and staff looked at the circumstances, and we'd like to recommend a reduction to $300.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Other questions from the commissioners or Mr. Wade?
No,
Okay, I'll move that we reduce the penalty to $300. Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Yes, Commissioner Leclerc.
oh, I was just gonna second it, but someone got there first.
It must be the lag in the video stream that messed you up.
Speed of light isn't fast enough.
Exactly. Not for this commission. All right, so we'll move on to a vote. Commissioner Leclerc,
Yes,
Commissioner Hastings,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahearn,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy. Yes. And I'll vote yes as well. On to agenda item 4, which is the proposed stakeholder group to simplify pre-election guidelines, deadlines. We voted last month to establish this kind of a board, this working group, and Mr. Wayne generously gave us some kind of a rehash of what our discussion was. So I'd like to open it up for discussion. Are you here for this item?
I am.
Please come forward. And I'll ask Mr. Wayne to kind of give us the big background, and then we'll hear from you and we can have a discussion.
So this was a suggestion by an attorney representing a PAC 2 meetings ago that it might make sense to re-examine the deadlines for the 24-hour reports and the independent expenditure reports to see if they could be simplified. His view was that they were confusing and too bureaucratic. And you discussed it at your last meeting, and there was a consensus that this would be worthwhile. So the commission decided that maybe the best way forward would be to convene it at the commission level and in sort of an informal way, so there wouldn't be any cost to the legislature. And you discussed different types of groups or constituencies that might be involved: candidates, legislators, citizens groups, government reform advocates, legislators. And I think this discussion today was an attempt to just put a finer point on everything and confirm that there was an agreement, and make sure if we're organizing it at the staff level, we get the best direction from you.
Great,
Yeah.
great. If you'd introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like, we'd be very interested.
So my name's Anna Keller. I'm the executive director for the Democracy Maine organizations, which includes the League of Women Voters of Maine and Maine Citizens for Clean Elections. And so we fit right into that interested citizen groups. We see a big part of our mission is to represent the public interest and the voters' interest on these things. While of course we're very interested in what's going to work well for candidates, what's going to work well for the ethics commission, what's going to work well for everyone in these positions, we often feel like our additional aim here is trying to represent the needs of voters to understand what candidates are spending money on and where they're getting it from, and the purpose of having these disclosure reports in the first place. So we'd be really happy to participate in a working group like this. I think it's a great idea to have an opportunity to dig into these deadlines and try to look at the process holistically. Often we see when we are working on legislation, there's a tweak here and a tweak there, and, you know, you are adjusting one thing in response to a particular election or a particular court case, or, you know, any of those things, and doesn't necessarily mean that there's a systematic approach to it all. So, very interested, be happy to participate in whatever this looks like, myself or my colleagues, and that's really all I just came here to say, was to, be in person to say that, and, have a chance to, it's a great idea.
Well, that's terrific, and we appreciate your willingness to help out. I think your discussion of the systematic approach is exactly why we want to do it, because this is a chance to kind of take a big overhead view of the whole thing and see how the rules and regulations and statutes fit together to require all this reporting in the last period of an election, and see if that's still kind of accomplishing its mission and still necessary, or if it needs to be changed a bit. And, you know, our overriding duty is to the public, and to, you know, we'll keep them informed about what's going on in elections. And so I think that has to be the driving force for this working group. So thank you.
I just wanted to add that, looking at the list of potential stakeholders, the one that wasn't there that I was thinking of is the media. And, you know, it's always a bit of question of whether someone, a member of the press, wants to be in a working group, but we are also part of the Freedom of Information Coalition. And I was thinking about, you know, who else pays attention to these disclosures and cares about it. And there may be a member of the press that would be interested in being a part of it as well.
I think that's a spectacular idea, because they actually access our reports and stuff very frequently. So I think that's a great idea. And I hope you got that.
I got it.
Not a lot of doubt.
Yeah.
Are there questions from commissioners or comments for Ms. Keller? Rae.
Yes.
Commissioner Leclerc, yes.
I'm just happy to see the broad range of stakeholders, and particularly citizen groups and the press would be great addition.
Terrific. Any other thoughts or questions or comments? Oh, so thank you very much for coming.
We appreciate it.
I think we need to find a member of the commission who wants to lead this up. Who would like to do that? Because without that, it's not going to happen. And it can't be me, because I'm not long on the commission.
That's the same for me. I'm a short termer.
Are you?
I just was filling a gap.
For how long?
I'm leaving in April.
Oh my God.
That's when Stacy's term was up, and I was filling her term.
But you can be reappointed.
I can, but I'm gonna spend a lot of time away.
Oh,
next
wow.
year.
Okay.
Take advantage of my retirement while I have energy.
I'm the biggest fan of retirement.
I'm going to nominate Dennis Marble.
Mhm. That was very generous of you.
But you only have half a nominating statement. It needs to be a joint resolute, never mind. I was gonna offer reluctantly, after clarifying what this might truly entail, if it's how much into the weeds and how much in terms of general protocol that I might not know, given my lack of legalese,
Well, I think
would kick into this, and
It's
how
a
much
great-
can I lean on Jonathan?
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say it's a great opportunity to kind of dive into these things, and Jonathan and John both, will be, I'm sure, extremely happy to help you.
For those who can't see, I'm getting affirmative head nodding from Mr. Blaine, which I appreciate. And then there's simply the matter of, I have submitted my paperwork and whatnot for reappointment and haven't heard anything, so, you know,
What do you do?
I've never been clear on that, Bill. I filled an unexpired term to begin with and then had a full term, and maybe staff is clearer on that than I am.
And his reappointment paperwork has been submitted to the governor's office,
Yeah.
and they just need to take the step of announcing the reappointment, and then it goes through the process before BLA
Yep.
confirmation. So it's in the pipeline, and they'll get to it this session.
And none of them have anything else going on right now, or?
No, it's really
Okay.
just slow up there.
Okay, so for this process, we can assume that that's
You're fine.
fine. Okay, in that case, sure.
Great, great. I think your leadership will lend a lot of power, force and credibility to the working group.
Gotta have a good working group.
Okay, so I think that probably we ought to vote on that. So the Commissioner Marble has been nominated, and are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll close nominations. I move that Commissioner Marble is appointed to be chairman of the working group. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Leclerc seconds. Is there discussion? Okay, we'll move on to a vote. We're voting on whether or not to appoint Commissioner Marble to be chair of this working group. Commissioner Leclerc,
Yes.
Commissioner Hastings,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahearn,
Yes.
Commissioner Marble. Should I vote? You should.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. So great,
Gratefully, yes.
yes. So I think, do you have any thoughts about any other requirements that you'll need or that we will need before we?
No, I think the next step is for Jonathan and I to have a conversation about how to put out invitations, how and where to meet. Does it all have to be one time? You know, some of those logistics. And fine tuning on exactly the scope of the discussion. You know, is it strictly the last quarter reporting, or is there anything else? But no, I think there's enough laid out here to do good work.
Terrific, terrific. Does any commissioners have any other thoughts or comments or questions?
No.
Great. Well, good luck. I think that, yeah, I think it has a lot of potential. I mean, there's been a lot, I mean, as we know, we see people every month. There's a lot of confusion about some of the reporting requirements, and there may be a better way to educate people. There may be a better way to frame the requirements. And with the goal of getting the right information to the public.
Well, I think from what we've heard anecdotally from candidates and from other interested parties, along with the caliber of staff, that we should have a good product out of this.
I think you're right. Great. All right, is there any other business that we need to take care of? Anybody? Probably the shortest meeting on record.
Not as short as the March meeting, however.
Right, exactly. That's right, that's right. That's the Africa meeting. So would anybody like to make a motion?
I make a motion for adjournment.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. That's not a debatable motion, so we'll move straight to a vote. Commissioner Leclerc,
Yes.
Commissioner Hastings,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahearn,
Yes.
Commissioner Marble.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. And thank you again for coming.
Nice to see you. Yes. It's been a long time since I've been able to come in person, so it was nice to be here and see you all.
See the sausage made, right?
Of course.
Do we have a date?
And I think I saw you on TV last night.
We had our lobby day yesterday, so I was up here with about 100 people, including about 30 high school students, which was very fun.
That's neat.
A little overwhelming.